Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the first ever Heroes of the Couch podcast. I'm here with Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Hanging in there,
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Um, how'd you find yourself enjoying episode 5?
Even more than the last one.
Yeah?
It keeps getting better and better.
Okay, perfect. So let's start from the very beginning. It's hard to overlook that kind of first sequence with Cap versus Bucky and the Falcon. What'd you think?
Great way to open up an episode with action like that. Not like a minute to spare from the end of the last episode, which is how this whole series I think is going. Just one scene after another, real quick. Not a lot of, I guess, gaps.
Yeah, it definitely feels like very movie-esque, and the quality's there, and also it's great, like you said, to see, um, like last episode, of course, we have John Walker killing that kind of refugee, and then immediately this first like opening is him, basically just like running away and trying to like deal with his demons,
Which is
and it goes right into that fight, which is sick.
it's important to see like where he goes right after that.
Yeah,
Like, I,
for
would,
sure.
I wouldn't want to see him in America in handcuffs right there because there's a lot of gap in there.
Yeah,
And to see the choreography on your point of quality of those three fighting, and Sam holding his own against the two super soldiers, it's impressive.
it was pretty sick. Yeah, I thought it was crazy to see. Like, obviously, John Walker has taken the serum. That's kind of been acknowledged now. Last episode was kind of left up for interpretation until we actually like saw him fight and we kind of like figured it out ourselves as viewers. But like seeing him rip off the Falcon's wings like almost like no problem at all
Yeah,
was sick, and then also seeing him like pull out his shield and like raise his hands again like he's prepared to kill them both, like insane to see.
no, absolutely. He is going insane. And he's still, the fact that he visited Lamar's parents and he's going to lie about the whole thing, knows, let us know that we're going to see him in the next episode for sure.
Oh, for sure. The scene with Lamar's parents is interesting because it almost felt like like it was more for him than it was for the parents. I felt like he still was like looking for retribution and kind of like trying to avenge his son as opposed to like trying to help their parents, Lamar's parents, like grieve.
Yeah, and it kind of ties to what Bucky's going to be doing in the beginning of the next episode, going back to, I'm blanking on the name now, but the old Chinese man that he was with, and Bucky's the one who killed his son.
Yeah, yeah.
Go back and tell him the truth and make him feel better, but Cap was not able to, John Walker was not able to do the same thing.
No, yeah. I think that speaks a lot to John Walker and kind of comparing that to Steve Rogers, right? Like I feel like Steve, the way he's been built up is more as a good person first and then became a good soldier, whereas this one, like John Walker, feels more like he grew up in the system, like not like 21st century, army, Afghanistan, etc. Like he is, your like a great soldier, whereas some of the things he's done in war, like he commented, I think he commented a couple episodes ago, like he wasn't even sure if that was the right thing to do, if what they were doing was like the right thing to do,
He
and
was,
you see that kind of reflected in like that exchange as well.
yeah, he just passed all the physical tests, and he was able to throw the shield and catch it. I mean, and then to see Sam training himself back into shape, and then also being able to do the same kind of stuff with the shield, that's me really excited to see his new wings as well as the shield coming in episode 6.
Yeah, it's cool. I think you see like a bit of a difference between the way that Sam takes the shield and has to train with it. Like he's obviously like your like average human per se. Like so that shield is a lot like to deal with. And you see him, having to do the acrobats and kind of like handle the pressure of it all.
Yeah.
And like the weight of the shield itself. Whereas for John Walker, it's sort of like he's given the shield, then he takes the serum. It's like okay, he doesn't really understand, you know, the weight of his actions now. Um, and that gets amplified, I think, by taking the serum last episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Um, okay, so let's move on. I think what's really interesting is where they're taking Zemo.
Yeah.
Um, we kind of see him at the end, or maybe even at the end, really, like maybe 20 minutes in or so, visiting the Sokovia Memorial,
Mm-hmm.
and you see
Oh, yeah.
Bucky. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see Bucky kind of come up to him, and he's holding a gun. You're not really sure which way Bucky's going to do this. Is he taking him in? Is he going to kill him right then and there? Um, and they have this interesting exchange where Zemo tries to convince him that the only way to stop Carly is to kill her. Um, and you
Bucky
see
just clowns him.
Bucky clowns him. I actually thought that it was gonna be like a water gun for a second, where he'd pull it out and it would just shoot water.
The bubbles,
Um,
that's like a throwback to Infinity War.
yeah, yeah, it would have been so funny. Nevertheless, though, he pulls the gun up right, he pretends to shoot him, and you see the bullets drop out of his left hand. Um, and so that kind of talks and speaks more to like what Bucky is more believing in Sam than maybe Sam and Steve to a certain extent, as opposed to the way Zemo has been approaching this. Um, and the Wakandians show up, they grab him, they take him. They say they're taking him to the raft, um, which is the same prison that, if you remember or recall, in Civil War, which is where the Falcon, Wanda.
All in the middle of the ocean.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a
So
big
that's still
one.
there, and I guess they're being used now. Yeah,
There's some kind of treaty going on with, I guess, the U.S. government or the UN and Wakanda now. And that was in the
I
last.
guess. What's interesting is that a couple episodes ago they started taking it back to Wakanda, but now they're taking him to the raft.
Yeah, which is very interesting. But he's got to have a big role in Black Panther 2.
You think so?
And he's such a big character in this. I don't know what they have planned for him, but the fact that the Wakandans are so after him and they take it so personally, which they should, I think he's gonna have to make an appearance, or at least a mention at the minimum.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of chatter online about like him maybe being part of Thunderbolts.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, we'll see what happens. I think in a way it's kind of poetic that his family is gone, and he's been trying to basically he's been trying to kill himself in some fashion, right? In Civil War, he had a gun to his head, and Black Panther stopped him. Here, he's prepared to die, no questions asked from Bucky. Um, and yet, like, he's stuck here, still with the living, and his family is dead, and like he can't join them per se. It's almost like poetic to a certain extent.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, as for his role in the Thunderbolts, do you see him more as a recruiting character? Because we don't really see him fighting. He's obviously a smart guy, very tactical, but you have a little bit more background than I. What do you see him doing in a possible Thunderbolts release?
Yeah, so I guess it kind of depends on what direction Marvel wants to take him, right? I can I can see him being. I imagine he still has some kind of training, being from like a wealthy, like he's obviously a baron, so I imagine he has some kind of training of just being from like a wealthy family. Um, he's super resourceful, of course, and he understands kind of the world, from like a lower underground type esque level as compared to like your traditional hero. Um, I can kind of see where you're coming from. That like he may be more of like a recruiter or, you know, more of like a leader, but from the behind the lines. Uh, Especially if you compare him to like, I don't know, some kind of villain or recruit that has powers of some sort or technology that they use. Whereas again, like you said, Zemo is like basically all mental warfare, all head space.
Yeah, you never see
Um,
him like a brute force in the battlefield.
yeah, so it'll be tough to kind of see him fit in there. Uh, but yeah, super cool stuff. It's cool that they are sort of setting up kind of the next stages of this. I think.
Been doing that forever though.
Yeah, and Marvel's unique in that. I think. Um, but it gets me super excited for what comes next. Um, yeah, I think that the next real major kind of piece of this episode was Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with him.
A ton, yeah. It was great actually. I think you get to see kind of his perspective and what he went through. He finally shares his story.
Right, instead of just
Um,
being the old man from one of the earlier episodes.
yeah, yeah, and prior to this, I think it might have been in the second episode, right, where they show up at his front door. They sort of try to get him to divulge some information, and he wants none of it. This time, you get Sam with the shield show up by himself, and he's much more open about it. Um, yeah, I mean, I think what was interesting to me was uh, Steve Rogers goes behind enemy lines, in World War II, rescues Bucky and the camp, and saves everybody, and he gets celebrated for that. And the way that Isaiah was telling his story was it almost sounded, like a mirror to that, where he he drops behind enemy lines. He rescues his friends, his brothers, as he says, and he gets back, and you know they just like pop him in jail.
Yeah, and they test him, and pretty much it's just brutal.
Yeah.
It's not the right word here, but since they're testing on him, it's a step above jail.
Yeah. I think a lot of times you find that a lot of like stories and movies might try and tackle race in a way that kind of seems like in your face,
Yeah,
and I felt like this has been built up over the series, and I was pleasantly surprised at kind of how they were dealing with it and how they were presenting it. Um, can't say I'm the person to comment on race for by any means, but I certainly appreciate what they've done and how they've kind of presented his story and his background and how it relates to kind of today's world.
yeah, they're not forcing him to show a lot of respect, which I
Yeah,
think they're
it's
anxious point across.
and finally, I think the most important part of that whole exchange was kind of his view in the Shield, right? Um, kind of telling Falcon like, I don't know why you'd ever want it. I don't know why you bring it in here. I wouldn't like you would never catch a black man wearing or like with the shield ever because like they'd have no self respect for that. Um, which is so different from like how Bucky or Steve Rogers or really anybody else we can think of really feels about the shield and how important it is to America and kind of stability in the Marvel universe.
And with that big point being shown to Sam, I wonder at the end of the next episode, is he going to be still holding that shield, or is he going to retire it, or is it going to get destroyed again?
Yeah, that would be crazy if it's just gone. Um, I think that a lot of what so if this were a movie, I don't think we'd have that training montage or the time with
Yes.
Sam's family or the community, which is really why it's so great they have this Disney Plus series. Because I feel like that time, although it definitely felt a little slow at times, at points, was pretty important to kind of like really flesh out Sam and kind of his feelings,
Yep.
without him even commenting on the Shield or kind of how he felt.
Yeah.
Um,
Not as a soldier.
yeah, exactly. And like to finally by the end of it, like he's kind of becoming slowly more and more sure of himself, with the help of Bucky, of course. That the Shield is like he has the ability to change what the Shield means and make a real impact. Unlike maybe Isaiah Bradley had 50, 60 years ago, just because of the general environment.
Yeah, not the same opportunity. Also, like you said, it is a little bit slower for the kind of high-paced episode that we're used to, but you still get to see the kind of human side of these soldiers that are part of the Avengers and what they actually have to do and their families. And I think it's interesting. It's not the main part of the story by any means, but it's interesting to see that side and to have him and Bucky kind of not train together, but actually get
Like
closer.
Bond, yeah,
That bond. I think it's important going forward if these two are going to be alive in these next movies and installations.
definitely. I think the only other time that we've had this kind of like slow period is in Age of Ultron, right, with Clint's family. But that felt more about like giving the Avengers time to regroup than it did about fleshing out the characters to like a large extent. I think, and that's just my opinion. But
And this is kind of like regrouping because
yeah,
Bucky's figuring out what he needs to do at the end of it, and Sam seeing his family probably gives him a little bit closer as well for being in Germany, I believe, for probably a couple months back there.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy, right? Like you think he was gone for 5 years with the blip,
Right.
gets back, he fights Thanos. Then I imagine the world's in chaos, right? Like they open the series, so he's traveling all over the world to try and help out where he can. Um, Gets home, right? There are issues with financial, uh, constraints and the boat and whatnot, and the family, and to see it kind of build over the whole series is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot of symbolism for sure.
oh yeah, 100%.
Not about boat, really.
Yeah,
It's about seeing
the boat's a metaphor.
metaphor.
Boat's a metaphor. It's all about metaphors, man. Um, so that was really cool, I think, and really important to help flesh out kind of the Falcon. Um, I
And
think
all in that, we do see a cut, I believe if my timing's right, of John Walker on the stand.
that is correct.
The movie's still, not the movie, the episode's still moving along. and you still get the information that people are really like digging for this kind of episode.
Yeah, I thought that was probably the most powerful part of the episode, to be honest. Like from an acting standpoint, um,
That
I think the actor who plays John Walker, I think is Wyatt Russell, right? And he has been crushing it so far, so good. Um, like an actor is really good when the fan base is divided if they hate the character or
yeah,
if they can appreciate the actor.
I do see social media posts saying, "Please do not hate this actor. He's actually a good
It's
person."
people are very upset, and I think that just speaks to how well he's playing the role.
I think people are.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we see him on the stand, right, getting basically berated for his actions. They don't even give him like really a chance to explain his actions. They're just like,
Just
you done
murder.
messed up, like you're out of here, and we're not putting you in jail or some discharging you for anything just because of your background and how well you've done previously. Like consider yourself lucky. Um, Obviously, he freaks out
No.
um, and starts talking about. He sort of it's interesting because you don't know if it's the serum making him freak out or if it's his personality freak, like that he is inherently a little crazy.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
And then after it, well, also I think are we meeting his wife for the first time? Maybe second time since the first episode, second episode.
the second time, but we only saw her for a few moments in the first episode.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, no one was thinking about it. Maybe people were waiting for it, but she's back, and then they both get interrupted by the Contessa.
Yeah, yeah,
And that ties right into Thunderbolts as well, I think.
yeah. I think so too. So interesting. So I know that the internet was abuzz that there was going to be some massive, actress actor reveal, but I'm not sure anybody actually predicted that it was Julie Louis Dreyfus, who is like world renowned, for Seinfeld and Veep and among other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Contessa is an interesting character, maybe also known as like Madame Hydra. Um, I think you're right that she will play a big role with the Thunderbolts, and I probably think that if John Walker survives, which I hope he does, the finale, uh, he'll probably be involved in that as well, which is sort of what that conversation felt like to me at least.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential with this actor. I think that they would be wasting a lot if they brought him in for a 6 episode season and then he dies in the finale. As emotional as it would be, for sure.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of potential with him.
he definitely feels, and well, I don't know where he'll go, and I think maybe it might be a little lesser so in the future, but at the moment it feels more like he is a tragic character as opposed to a villain or just a bad person. Like it feels
Yeah.
like he crumbled under the pressure of Captain America, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Got himself off for a little bit of failure here and there.
yeah, must be fun. Um,
That ties us right into the finale is he going to get into contact with Contessa? Because he has a blank business card. So it seems like a kind of thing where she's going to know where he is.
yeah.
To scoop him up.
Do you think
Maybe
that Contessa shows up in the finale?
maybe he gets really badly injured and he obviously like is not going to go away with the shield. He doesn't have the shield now. He's not going to walk away with the shield.
He has a shield.
He has a shield.
Oh yeah. Did you catch the mid-credit scene?
The mid-credit scene. I was scrolling through it. I did not see it.
Oh, so there's a scene at the end there where like they stuck it in after the credits,
Okay.
where he is in a workshop of some sorts, like making his own Captain America shield.
Okay.
So
Look,
and like he's painting and whatnot, he's building himself.
Okay.
So I think in the finale there would be a scene where he has to fight the Falcon, and
Okay.
you'll have um, the actual Captain America shield, like basically just like cut through John Walker's shield in half, which will be very symbolic, I guess. But
Or I could also see him killing Carly and
oh, you
Sam,
think so?
and not obviously wanting to kill Carly, and same with Bucky. I think at this point, that's going to be when maybe someone shoots him, or they get into like the big battle finale. That's when John really gets hurt. He's walking away, and Contessa finds him.
So do you think that there will be a scene where the Falcon and Bucky will be protecting Carly?
I could see that. Like it could be a little like 3v1 or 2.5v1, where there's a little bit of protection going on.
It feels like the finale is coming to a point where it's like You've got like Carly's faction. You've got the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Then you've got John Walker. Now you have Batroc as well, and like no one's kind of on the same side.
Yeah,
It's like a big battle royale almost.
a lot of crossovers with people feeling personal about others and wanting to kill them
Yeah.
for any personal reason you want.
So I think they're making Carly like they're pushing her closer and closer to not be redeemable.
Yeah,
But I can totally see a world where like almost a mirror to the Winter Soldier movie, where Falcon kind of like refuses to like beat her up.
yeah, he beats her in battle, but he won't like kill her.
Yeah, and that maybe that's the point where John Walker comes in and is like trying to kill her, and he has to stop, and like they prevent him from killing her. It's like a huge deal.
Mhm.
Oh man, I can't wait.
I can't wait for those nice sweet wings that he's got.
One other point to mention, I think is important, is kind of Sharon and where she fits in.
Oh,
It's a huge mystery.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
The Winter Soldier, actually. Funny enough.
yeah, so it's like I don't know if it's the show kind of setting her up as a bit of a red herring for the power broker,
Yeah.
or if she's actually going to be the power broker. Because I feel like I'm not sure that really works for her character if she ends up being the actual power broker.
It is odd, but Marvel's good with it, and we'll somehow like rewatch and then find the connections.
You think so?
If she is the power broker, if she's like that closely tied to the power broker.
Yeah, maybe she's keeping eyes on him.
Yeah.
Or
What would make her turn to like that side of it?
yeah, it's so far removed from where she was. It's hard to see that being the case.
And the last time we saw her was Civil War, right?
Yeah, so she had just stolen
Yeah.
Captain America's shield and Sam's wings, and then she was on her way. That was the last we saw of her.
Yeah. And ever since we can assume that she's been in Master War.
I guess, right? Yeah, or maybe I guess post blip at least. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We don't even know what's going on back there.
Yeah. So it's like, is she good? Is she bad? Does that fit with her character? And like, what happens now? Because like the implication there was that she hired Batroc for the first episode events, where Sam was defending the soldier, which I don't know, that seemed, I was like, wow, okay, so maybe she is bad.
Could be. And then, I mean, Marvel's going to do a good job with explaining what happened. Maybe they'll be like, I mean, this one's probably going to be an hour long as well. And I'm not saying it'll drag, but there'll have to be a little bit of flashbacks to kind of connect the dots if they make any moves. But I could definitely see her on either side of the ball.
Do you think they have time for to really flesh her out, or is she just going to be kind of more like a supporting kind of C-class character in the finale?
What's odd is that the finale is going to open up with a battle within the first 10 minutes.
You think so?
Because how 5 ended was, episode 5, was him suiting up. He knows that it's in New York City, and he might be in D.C. to be fair, but then we see the meeting, those representatives in the meeting.
Sure.
Power goes out, and then obviously it's infiltrated by the security guards, quote unquote, that are all flag smashing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, like you said, like it's an hour-long episode, so I'm gonna be surprised what they're able to do. I think,
Right.
especially if that fight, like I feel like that fight is the climax. I would think.
Yeah. So are going to be Sam getting there, or maybe they can open up with like a calm scene with Bucky going up to his friend from the beginning part of the season.
Yeah, maybe. So I don't know, man. I'm very excited. This season so far has been fantastic. It's been actually movie quality, I think, for a lot of the action scenes.
Yeah.
Especially the fight this episode and the fight from the first episode where Falcon was in the air flying.
Yeah.
Um,
The choreography is great.
Unreal, man. Absolutely unreal. It's so cool to see, like Marvel really getting into like these series, but it's not just like these oh we'll just put together a series and just like hope it sells. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this right. This is like top tier crap. Like we're gonna crush it. And oh my god, man, it's been fantastic.
Narrative before WandaVision and before we saw the big timeline until 2025 or every year was that DC didn't have the best movies. They had pretty decent, pretty good TV series, and it was the opposite for Marvel. But now I mean, I can't stand. You're gonna have WandaVision, you're gonna have Loki, you're gonna have Falcon and Winter Soldier, all within 6 months of each other.
Yeah, it's good year to be a Marvel fan, I guess, right? And I think Black Widow's coming out this year as well, right? My
Yeah,
timeline's right.
have a summertime.
Yeah, and I did hear online that supposedly Julia Louis-Dreyfus was supposed to be in Black Widow first as potentially a cameo for contestants there as well.
Okay.
Um, so we might see her again, perhaps,
You think she would have ties to the Taskmaster?
potentially. I hope it. Well, I don't want to get too off topic, but I hope they don't kill a Taskmaster,
I'm gonna be interested.
because he is a great villain and has a lot of potential to be used.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, just super excited about the finale. Um, the fight scene, like you said, will be freaking fantastic. Yeah, should be freaking pumped.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Um, I think that's it for us for today. But yeah, as always, a pleasure from us as at Heroes of the Couch. Um, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. If you're listening on Apple or on the podcast, thanks for listening. If you're on YouTube, throw us a like, throw us the comment, throw us subscribes. Really appreciate it. And yeah, all right. That's us. That's it from us. All right. Take care.